Yes, people. This is going to be the outlook. Apologies, being very busy. There isn't going to be a recap, but like you'll kind of see the price action and the technicals of what happened last week. Not really going to talk too much on last week because I didn't really place any trades. Well, I didn't place any trades last week. Oh, pardon me. Incredibly busy, working, etc. Business growing. Gosh, right. Let's first take a look at what is happening next week on the calendar. So, Sunday, who gives a shit about Sunday? Right. On Monday, we don't really have that much, just a bunch of speeches. Obviously, ECB Lagarde, been fairly hawkish recently, as we've been talking about last week. Not much going on. Retail sales ticking down, 10 basis points, nothing of significance really going on there. Then on Wednesday, we have payroll, jobs growth, and headline unemployment rate. Now, data was pulled from last week, so it's being released this week. Hopefully, if the Office of Statistics like to, you know, actually give it to us. But obviously, as we can see, payrolls growth is looking to tick up by 20k. That's somewhat significant here. Headline unemployment meant to be sticking to the previous. Now, obviously, I'll go over USD in a little bit, but this is significant because if the data holds, then it could be a little bit of a signal for higher, dollar prices. If there's an upset here, we could be seeing another leg lower on the dollar. But again, we'll go over that when we actually cover the dollar. Thursday, we have pound GDP ticking down, not great. Obviously, again, I will go over the pound. More not so great news for the pound coming in to next week, this week. Not too much on the rest of that day. Then on Friday, we have inflation year over year, month over month. Obviously, again, very important, very important. So this week we have not only employment, but we also have inflation, which is obviously because the Fed is a dual mandate. This is very key for policy making, policy decisions. So this is pretty key for the week. Now we can see the inflation is ticking down year over year, month over month, is staying stagnant, but year over year is a more significant number here. Again, something to look out for this week if there's any upsets in the data releases. Right, that's the calendar. Obviously, I've spoken about the ones I'm looking at there. In fact, may as well go and add them. May as well add them to the watch list. Now, obviously, if you're wondering what terminal this is, I'm using. This is Cognito Updates, as you can see at the top of your screen. Cognito, great stuff, guys. Really, you can see how good this app. Like, I don't need to say anything more than this is a good web app. That's just it. Like, if you're a trader, if you trade fundamentals, this is something that you need for sure. I use it. I recommend it. Do I really need to say too much? Yeah, need I say any more? Like you're seeing how this app works live while I'm filming these, so I wouldn't recommend something that I wouldn't want to use myself, and obviously I use it myself, so therefore I recommend it. I do have an affiliate code, code F3. I'll put it in the description below if you're interested. Using this. So let's get started. USD, cover USD macro, guys. Payroll jobs growth. Getting a bit of a hawkish consensus here. And NFP will be the key factor which deciphers where USD goes next. I do think we can see some upside before NFP. NFP is going to be key here, basically, is my point. So I'm looking to see some dollar upside before NFP and then try and get out before NFP, before any potential upsets. Maybe leave a few running, but ideally not. Just, cut profits, get out of the market before something could happen. Inflation looking like it's ticking lower, which is obviously quite dovish. Like I said, I'm tactically bullish and I'm watching NFP. If it misses, then there could be some. It could have risen into a nice potential area for shorts for the sort of Thursday, Friday, Sunday opening. Um, but in terms of Fed Watch, you can see the chance for a cut in March, April, and June have both risen, and we could be pricing in a higher chance of cuts. We can see here, risk sentiment wise, we are in a balanced market condition. USD trades primarily on interest rate differentials and economic data rather than risk flows. Two-way flows determine direction. Fed policy stance becomes the dominant factor. That's basically what I'm saying here. Inflation and employment are both due this week. This is a big week for Fed policy stance. And like I said, if you come onto the calendar, I mentioned it right at the start. But we do have Fed chairs talking this week. I won't be tuning into any of their speeches, but that will be interesting to see the sort of divide that we could have in the Fed. Uh, so Fed, like I said, tactically bullish. Insights wise, we're bullish. It could be a good tactical window for a USD rebound. Danske Bank is saying Goldman Sachs, you remain cautiously bearish. JPY and do be wary of adding fresh positions, but this is mainly talking about USD. Bullish USD, bearish JPY. We'll cover the yen in a little bit though. New reactions, neutral to hawkish. It's basically everything I'm saying. Seasonality wise, February normally isn't a great month, so we'll see. Data here this week, I need to can't stress this enough. The data here this week is very, very important. These are two cool things that Cognito have actually added recently that I'm heavily fucking with. Currency strength index and currency strength heat map, both very nice to look at. But obviously, like I said, unemployment, inflation, very much important things to be looking at this week. Pound wise, I am bearish on the pound. Although we are very oversold on GA and GN, so pound against the Aussie dollar and pound against New Zealand dollar, we are very oversold on those. But just following general consensus, there's no reason why we can't see some more downside on those pairs. Might get a nice pullback start of the week, create that nice wick on the weekly candle, and we short from the wick and we take it lower. But yeah, short end is falling, data is softening, and the Bank of England are dovish. As we can see up here, Bank of England are dovish. We do have a squeezing of rate differentials, which has mainly been driving the pound recently. We have GDP on Friday. GDP is kind of slipping, like I said. Institutions, bearish, neutral, bearish, need to say any more. MUFG hit by Bank of England, dovish hold, literally what I just said. February Bank of England, asymmetric risk for pound on some profit taking on long pound positions. BNP Paribas warns of GBP vulnerability as yield support erodes. Again, what did I just say? I said short end was the falling. Again, yield reactions, dovish, neutral, whatever. Labour market's in a stinker. We've been talking about this for a little bit now. Inflation ticked up. It's generally not a great place for the pound to be. Inflation is sticky. Unemployment is high. Institutions are short. I'm short too. Euro, neutral to bullish on the euro. Euro. That's pretty much the consensus among institutions as well. Neutral, bearish, bullish. Everyone's sort of neutral, basically. Neutral to bullish is my opinion. We're kind of waiting for a definitive catalyst here in terms of what we want to see next. Euro pound, the weight there is mainly lying on the cross, i.e. the pound, not the euro. Euro is neutral to bullish. Again, we will show this in the technicals, but nothing too much going on with the euro this week. Obviously, Lagarde speaking at the start of the week, unless she says something nuts, which she doesn't normally, then we should be okay to be neutral to bullish. Should be a nice pair to go crossed on some weaker currencies this week for sure. CAD. CAD, I'm bullish, guys. I'm bullish on the CAD. However, oil is the main thing here. Oil prices have been driving the CAD for a little bit now. Um, it's very important to keep an eye on oil. Again, I'll cover that in the technicals. But oil, keep an eye on oil. That is what's driving the CAD. Short end has barely moved. Markets basically just need some more decisive data. Not too much data wise coming this week for CAD anyway, so it points to a more positive week for sure. We could see a gap down on oil. I think that's pretty likely after the Iran US tensions sort of subsiding a little bit. However, seen to be believed on the gap down and possibly fading that is what I'm talking about. Oil gaps down, we fade back up, and we support CAD once again. That would be what I'm saying when when oil gaps down would be a nice place to take CAD longs. Obviously, again, oil longs as well, but specifically if we're talking currencies here, CAD longs look nice. Um, yeah, like I said, we need oil to be in our favour, and there are better crosses out there. Obviously, this is quite dependent on how oil reacts, but like I said, decent options, and I'll go over that in what I'm trading this week as well. Hopefully, I'm going to try and actually get some positions in this week. Like last week, I sort of missed some positions this week. I'm just going to try a little better system in terms of managing my time and getting the positions in because last week didn't manage my time too great and didn't really have a chance to actually enter anything. So I'm properly like just dedicating some time this week to actually sit down. And once I see what I want to see, we'll get in. AUD and NZD are going to cover these both together as usual. Very similar stuff. So, obviously, we have had the hawkish scenario coming out of the Royal Bank of Australia. We had that interest rate hike. Was it last week or the week before that? We've got labour market strength, as we can see. Labour market is looking a lot better. Inflation is ticking up, and that was mainly the reason for the hike. Equities, I'm expecting to bounce back this week. Institutionally, you can see that we are bullish. Credit Agricole performs, RBA performs a hawkish hike, bullish AUD. So we need to see there. Bank of America, Feb Third expects another hike. That's obviously very good for the dollar as well. You can see hawkish from the December RBA meeting and the January Labour data. We were also hawkish as well. I think the general consensus here, and it has been for a couple of weeks now, as if you guys have been watching, is I'm generally bullish AUD and NZD. Same for NZD, obviously. Same thing here. Yeah, and we're also seeing decent strength in the Chinese yuan. So that's another reason for upside there as the economies are very heavily intertwined. JPY, I remain incredibly cautious here, guys. Incredibly cautious. One, because, and I'll show you on USD JPY, but we are nearing some significant levels in terms of intervention risks. Although Besant has ruled out into US in help in the intervention, doesn't mean that the Ministry of Finance can't just do some fuckery and fuck with the markets. So, best to remain cautious here. Cautiously bearish would be my consensus. Oh, pardon me. We do still have intervention fears, and the long end is obviously rising with political issues, mainly Taikashi, the Prime Minister. CHF, obviously, we know this is gold's FX twin. Tactically bearish here, mainly because of gold prices. But if we see a nice rebound in gold, could be a nice place to get entries and see some similarity in the price of CHF. Geopolitical risks are easing, and we could see some gold profit taking. So therefore, we could see a gap up on gold, and then we sort of fade that move and we carry on down, which obviously would be short CHF2. Now that's everything covered macro wise. Let's show you what I'm looking at technically. So this week, pound AUD. Like I mentioned, I am bearish on the pound and I am long on the Aussie dollar. So this makes complete sense. If I pull up statisticals, could see some kind of reversion back to mean in terms of something like this. Back to mean. The bounce off the 195 handle looks nice. Don't see it going any further than don't see it going any further than this sort of zone, especially not these highs. But yeah, best place to the highs. Best place to stop's well above the highs. Targeting a 1-to-1 will probably leave some runners if I can. Close like 90% or something, and see if the week shines any more light on pound weakness and Aussie dollar upside. Obviously, same thing pretty much here for pound NZD. These are pretty much the same trade ideas. Obviously, they're very interlinked, so these are pretty much the same. But again, expecting something very similar. Bounce off the 227. We'll leave some runners if I can. Here's a bit more of a risky play, but get in, get out kind of job. We have actually just gapped, so I forgot the market opened now, but we have actually just gapped to the downside, but we could see a fading of that. A tap to the 1-1-3-6-5 kind of handle. That looks good. Something like this looks nice. Go for a 1-to-1. If you wanna actually, fucking hell, that'll do. 1-to-1, stopped above the highs. Bosh. Euro yen. Damn, that's crazy open. Crazy open cut. What the hell? Anyway, that to be honest, that could well be the move. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't want to rush anything. I'm not gonna take it if it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't come down to where I thought it was going to come down to. But a bounce off 185 does seem nice. Targeting a 1-to-2, not going to hold those highs, especially with intervention risks lurking. NZD JPY, similar thing. I do just generally see higher time frame NZD bullishness. So I'm targeting a 1-to-1 here. However, if we come down to these levels, happy to take this position as well at half risk. AUD JPY, pretty much literally just the same thing, guys. So you can see how similar the charts are. Same kind of idea. Take a position from the 109 handle, bounce off the 105 if I'm happy to take that as well, half risk. But yeah, that's about that for this week's pairs. We can cover Bitcoin quickly if we want. Don't know where my position went. Had a position, guys. Just doesn't seem to exist apparently. Oh, well, I was trying to. Oh, here it is. Don't know why I showed it the first time. This is the position that I will take if it comes down here. I do want to see some upside now. Maybe not tonight. 8K. We'll see. Because obviously that's a crazy trade, bro. But yeah, at least to here makes a lot of sense. We'll see, guys. We'll see. I'm not being the biggest fan of digital assets as of late. I may even literally extend stops and just say like, if this is the bottom, then fairs. I've caught the move. If this isn't the bottom, then I'm happy to just like take a loss here. But what I'm not happy to take a loss about is if I have my stops here, I get stopped out, and then we move. Like, I'm happy to just take lower RR and actually, this be the move. Because RR doesn't really matter, guys. I'll be real. Like a 1-to-2, like I'm very much happy with the 1-to-2. Like, yeah, that's literally perfect. Something like that is literally perfect, guys. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at, which is quite possible. I do quite the look of that reaction there. But obviously, Bitcoin very similar to ETH. I'm not going to cover any of that bollocks. Gold and silver. Let's cover that quickly. I do think Downside. Hate to break it to you, I was such a silver bull pretty much since that whole thing. But I do think we need to keep seeing some downside. It won't look pretty. The silver market is not a pretty market at the minute. Extremely volatile. But some downside would be nice. Maybe, I mean, like, I did call 65, $85, that kind of range. I do still think we could see high 50s. It's horrible to say, guys, back when we were at like 100, 110 around the end of Jan. But yeah, high 50s looks nice, especially a nice buying place for the long term port. That's pretty much everything commodities. I mean, really, I'm not sure what people are sort of saying on commodities, but obviously copper. See what's happened here. Iron ore. You can see what's happened here. Fell off a cliff. Platinum fell off a cliff. This is oil. This is interesting. This is actually something worth paying attention to. Like I said with the CAD, if we do get, you know, some kind of sweep of this would be super nice. If we get a weekly candle that prints, takes out that candle there, and we shoot back up to 66, because you know, in terms of that, like OPEC has already said that it's not hiking output in March, so supply dynamics make a lot of sense here. I mean, oil isn't particularly my market. I don't know the most about oil, but I know enough to see reason in this kind of trade, so I might actually add this to this week's. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense, guys. If you and this is kind of like live analysis. We tested that upper band. Now we can come and test this sort of lower band here, albeit we have on that Friday candle, something like that would be nice, or even something like this. Something like that could work as well. Take a position from there. So something like this. Stops below the low. Literally something like that. But again, like I said, I'll look at CAD further in the week. This is quite cool. Gonna keep adding these to the outlooks. This is Margin. Margin is a prediction market prop firm. Where is my predictions? My prediction isn't on here, guys. Don't know why. Made a prediction saying AUD JPY weekly candle is going to close bullish, but I guess they've taken it off. Anyway, I'll talk for anyway what it is. Basically, as you can see, you make predictions based on the actual financial markets, actual asset classes. You have to place any stop losses, any take profits, just all those prop firm rules that no one actually likes and are just complete bollocks. It's just completely voided. You're not placing any trades. All you're doing is make a prediction. I think it's sick. Never seen anything like this before. I'm trying it out. I recommend you try it out if you want to as well. I'm like not even affiliated with these guys. I've got no code or anything like that. They're just like, it's a cool idea. Thought I'd try it out, kind of thing. Don't know too much. Use it at your own risk, kind of thing. But I'm using it, so we'll see how it goes. I've got a 5K challenge. Obviously, we can see I'm in drawdown at the minute. Made a few just like I was just messing about, really. But yeah, kind of cool. See how it goes. Anyway, I appreciate you tuning in. Hope that you enjoyed the outlook, and if you did, drop a comment so I know that you did. If you didn't, don't care. Don't watch the videos. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week. I'm gonna be busy working, busy trading, doing gym, the usual stuff, as you know. My birthday next week. Kind of excited for. I shall be 19. My birthday's on Valentine's Day, so big day, hey? Big day if you've got a girlfriend. Yeah. So that's gonna be my sort of week. I might have a rugby game on Saturday as well, on my birthday. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm not sure if I want to play yet, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Had a nice. Hope you guys had a nice weekend. Actually, I had a nice weekend. It was good. It was a good weekend. Um, and yeah, stay safe. Do good shit. Bosh.